This is African American History is American History. Welcome. I'm your host, Harlan Kearsley. This program's goal is to foster understanding, promote discussion, and expand knowledge through stories of historical events, bios of unsung heroes, as well as timely and relevant news stories which hopefully will paint a vivid picture of the effects of segregation, discrimination, and bigotry on the lives of both blacks and whites. With a career lasting only 10 years, Bessie Smith was the highest paid African-American music artist of the jazz age. Her sound and her attitude made her the first African-American superstar and earned her the nickname Queen of the Blues. Bessie Smith was born in Chattanooga, Tennessee on April 15, 1894. She was one of 7 children born to Laura and William Smith. Her father was a laborer and part-time Baptist preacher who died while his daughter was too young to remember him. Then, by the time Bessie Smith was 9, her mother and brother had also died. Her older sister, Viola, took charge of caring for her siblings. Bessie Smith never received a formal education. She and her siblings survived their extreme poverty by performing on street corners. She sang and danced while her brother Andrew played the guitar. In 1912, Bessie Smith auditioned for the Moses Stokes troupe. Managers Lonnie and Cora Fisher hired her not as a vocalist, but as a dancer, since the company already included popular singer Ma Rainey. It was Ma Rainey who helped Bessie develop her stage presence. Around 1913, Bessie Smith began forming her own act, and by 1920, she had established a reputation throughout the South and along the East Coast. Right around this time, the recording industry began to direct its product to black people by establishing a series of, quote, race records. In 1923, capitalizing on this new market, Bessie Smith signed with Columbia Records, and that began her recording career. This is African American History is American History. Bessie Smith had a strong contralto voice, which worked well with the electrical recording equipment of the time. Her first recordings were highly successful. But not everyone was crazy about her. Even her admirers, both black and white, considered her a, quote, rough and low-class woman. W.E.B. Du Bois, who was on the board of directors for Black Swan Records, considered her, quote, too rough for the label. Du Bois and the other businessmen involved with Black Swan Records were later surprised when she became the most successful diva in blues music because of her rough and coarse style. Bessie Smith went on to make 160 recordings for Columbia, often accompanied by the finest musicians of the day, including Louis Armstrong, Coleman Hawkins, and Fletcher Henderson. Bessie Smith's career was cut short by the Great Depression, which nearly put the recording industry out of business. The advent of sound and film didn't help either, as it spelled the end of a lucrative career in vaudeville. In November of 1929, Bessie Smith made her only film appearance, starring in an early sound film called St. Louis Blues. The film is based on composer W.C. Handy's song of the same name, and is directed by Dudley Murphy, who would go on to direct The Emperor Jones in 1933, starring Paul Robeson. St. Louis Blues was shot at the Gramercy studio of RCA Photophone Incorporated, located in Astoria, Queens, New York. It was named to the National Film Registry in 2006. Although this 1929 two-reeler is brimming over with black stereotypes. It's significant because not only is it the first and only appearance of Bessie Smith on film, but it's also one of the earliest surviving major studio films with an all-black cast. Radio Pictures was later renamed RKO. She sings the title song accompanied by members of Fletcher Henderson's orchestra, the Hall Johnson Choir, the pianist James P. Johnson, and a string section. Unfortunately, all of Bessie Smith's recordings from 1923 to 1937, including the full St. Louis Blues soundtrack, are under copyright until 2024. However, I have included a link to the Library of Congress's website where you can watch the full restored version of St. Louis Blues. Bessie Smith's performing career ended on September 26, 1937. She was critically injured in a car crash on U.S. Route 61 between Memphis, Tennessee and Clarksdale, Mississippi. She was taken to the G.T. Thomas Afro-American Hospital in Clarksdale, where her right arm was amputated. She died that morning without regaining consciousness. Bessie Smith was only 43 years old. Bessie Smith's grave remained unmarked until a tombstone was erected on August 7, 1970, paid for by the singer Janis Joplin. This has been African American History is American History. The episode you've been listening to, Bessie Smith, Queen of the Blues, was written and directed by Harlan Kearsley. I'm Harlan Kearsley, and on behalf of everyone here at African American History is American History, thank you for listening. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe. It's free, and once you do, you'll be notified as soon as new episodes are posted. Thanks again, and please stay safe. African American History is American History. Copyright H.C. Kearsley, 2022.